The night I realized my mother was with someone else. True encounters. If one night you saw your own mother standing with someone no one else could see, and even though you wanted to scream, your voice got stuck in your throat, what would you do in that moment? Would you run away in fear, or stay silent while watching everything with your own eyes? This is true encounters, where real experiences speak louder than fear. Today's experience comes from a spiritual practitioner in Gatineau, Quebec. For privacy reasons, her real identity remains hidden. You may call her Claudie. She sent this message late one night, with only one request. So, please don't share who I really am. I never wanted to tell anyone this. But now I feel the truth should be heard, so no one else walks through the same darkness my mother and I faced. My father passed away many years ago. Since then, it had only been my mom and me living in our old house near the outskirts of Gatineau. She was always a simple, gentle woman, morning coffee on the porch, quiet church, prayers on Sundays, and every evening she lit a small candle near the window. That was her routine. But last year, something slowly began to change. Mom started waking up late at night and walking to the rooftop patio. She would stare at the sky for hours, sometimes speaking softly, as if someone stood just beyond the darkness. At first, I thought loneliness had finally caught up with her. Grief changes people in quiet ways. But then her behavior became harder to explain. Sometimes she laughed in a tone that didn't feel like hers. Sometimes she argued under her breath, reacting to things I couldn't hear. And one night, I found dark, uneven markings smeared across her bedroom wall. My voice shook when I asked Mom, "What are you doing?" She lowered her head and said quietly, "He came, and he says I belong to him now." I didn't know what she meant. Part of me wondered if stress, sleepless nights, and loss had slowly blurred the edges of her reality. Slowly the atmosphere inside our home began to feel heavier. At night, a strange scent filled her room, like incense left burning too long in a closed space. The air felt thick and unmoving. Sometimes I heard faint sounds. Or maybe it was only the house settling in the wind, but the pressure I felt kept getting stronger each day. Then one night, I noticed her bed was empty. I walked upstairs to the rooftop and just stood there. The air felt colder there, brushing against my arms like thin ice. My mother stood near the edge, swaying slightly, her hair loose, eyes closed. In front of her, the darkness looked wrong, not like a clear figure, more like a shadow that didn't move with the wind. For a second, the breeze stopped completely. The candle she had brought upstairs flickered sideways, and then went still. I couldn't say I truly saw someone. Maybe it was only shifting shadows. Maybe fear was trying to give shape to the night. But in that moment, I felt like she wasn't alone. My throat locked. My hands went numb. Even though I wanted to scream, no sound came out. Tears rolled down my face as I stood there, unable to move. The next morning, she looked almost normal again, but pale, exhausted. She said softly, "He doesn't leave me. It feels like something unfinished keeps pulling at me." Terrified, I contacted a local meditation counselor known for grounding practices. After spending time in our home, he didn't give dramatic answers. He introduced himself as Fletcher Snow. He simply said, "Sometimes strong emotions leave echoes behind, and some people become more sensitive to them than others. Focus on grounding, breath, routine, light. He mentioned that years ago a man had died tragically near a nearby river outside Gatineau. He quietly suggested that the man's spirit still comes near my mother, as if something unfinished keeps pulling him back to her. I tried everything I could: quiet prayers, breathing exercises, long conversations, but nothing seemed to fully help. Every new moon night, her condition grew worse. Sometimes she cried uncontrollably. Sometimes she scratched her arms without realizing it. Watching her like that made the house feel smaller, like the walls were slowly closing in. Finally, I reached out to another practitioner who focused on daily discipline rather than dramatic rituals. For a few months, he told me, stand facing the morning light and repeat a simple intention for release. Don't force belief, just stay consistent. I didn't know if it would work, but I placed a small image of the sun near my mother's window. Every morning at dawn, I lit a candle, and day after day, I stood there, exhausted, doubtful, but unwilling to give up. Nothing changed at first, and then, one morning near the end of that long routine, the room felt different. Not magical, just lighter. Sunlight spread across the wall in a way I hadn't noticed before. My mother took a slow, deep breath, the first calm breath I had heard from her in months. The candle flame steadied. She suddenly collapsed to the floor. For a moment I thought I had lost her, but after a few minutes she opened her eyes again. For the first time in months, her face looked peaceful. She held my hand and said quietly, "It's quiet now. Whatever was holding on to me feels far away." Since that day, nothing truly strange has happened again. The room feels normal. The air feels calm. Every Sunday morning, I still stand on the rooftop, facing the rising sun. I close my eyes and say, "You are the light that stands between me and the darkness." And when people ask if I really saw something supernatural, I just smile, because sometimes the greatest battles aren't against spirits, but against the shadows we carry inside our own hearts. Still, on certain quiet nights, when the wind moves across the roof just right, I sometimes wonder who she was really speaking to in the dark. This was a true encounter shared by a practitioner in Gatineau, Quebec. A quiet reminder that some attachments don't set us free. They only leave another life, waiting in silence. Sometimes the most haunting experiences don't happen in abandoned places, but inside ordinary homes. Until next time, another true experience awaits here on True Encounter.